hydrated well. We want you to be sure that everyone's got what they need to start the day. So we are on our last day and we're not supposed to actually be doing dissociative disorders like we kids over. So let me get back to actually, I think we're going to start with the practice sheets. So let's get into those practice sheets for day 2. For day 2. So one of the first things we're going to do this morning is finish our treatment plan. And so if you look on your practice sheet for day 1, you're going to have, or that practice sheets for day 3, I'm so sorry. Practice sheets for day 1, day 3 on page 1. Day 3, page 1. It allows you to find those practice sheets. I'm just setting it up now. We're actually going to do a mindfulness in just a few moments, but let's get it set up. We're going to be meeting in our groups of 3 shortly to practice or to finish the treatment plan. And so just pull that up, and then we're going to go back to yesterday's future desire states and show you how to put everything into the treatment plan, so when we start our afternoon, everything is set up and ready to go. Okay? So just get that ready for now. Have it pulled up. We're going to start with the day 3 practice sheets here. And then I'm going to explain how we set up the treatment plan. But first, let's just go ahead. We have a few moments for question and answers from yesterday, or questions. I should have all the answers, I hope. Well, I will try to have them, or my team will as well. So, questions from yesterday, yes.
So how often are we able to do EMDR on clients?
How often? Sometimes I do. It can be every session. Sometimes their systems are unable to manage it every time, and so you may do it every other time, every other session, every other week. There are some clients that do it twice a week. They want to move through their trauma pretty quickly, and so they're able to do it twice a week if their insurance allows that. And so it's really dependent upon what they can manage. I have a lot of clients, if they have a lot of chronic pain, it really hurts them for the next 3 days or so. And so when they come back, it's almost like they need a break and they're not ready to go back into that again. It's like they kind of have to prepare for it. So we want to be aware of how are they managing that, which is what reevaluation is all about. So we'll have a better idea after you do the first session. They come back the next session, and then you're talking about that. You're welcome. With private insurance, a lot of times they only pay for a certain amount. With Medicaid, Medicare, really, that can allow them to give twice a week, usually, sessions, and so it's really contingent upon what kind of insurance they have. And it's based upon what the client needs are. Other questions? How did everyone sleep last night? Good? Really well? Okay. Did anyone notice any dreams that were related to yesterday? I'm going to stick a cough for just a moment. My throat sounds a little scratchy. Sadly.
So I kind of had like an interesting experience yesterday, like after we did the EMDR session. It kind of like continued to process and unlock a lot of things that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. And so I think it's very important, like when working with the clients, to ensure they know their resources and like know the warning signs when to use them, because it really surprised me and I wasn't expecting some of those things to be like unlocked that quickly, and I'm grateful they were, but I don't really know how to coexist with it at the moment. And so
yeah. And And that's why we encourage a lot of resources, Heather, because sometimes some of them work, and then other times they don't. So we want to have numerous ones that we can teach a client and we can practice ourselves, because we will find that when it does open up that memory network, we're not sure what's going to spill out. We're not sure when it's going to come, how it's going to come. And so that's part of that ability to know that when it does come, sometimes you may be ready, or you may be in a place where it's okay to think about it, journal about it, do those things. Other times, if you're in the middle of a work day and that happens, it's not the ideal time to really have that awareness. And so, yeah, we want you to be able to have resources available that really do work. Yeah. And that's why when our closure says you'll notice new insights, thoughts, memories, dreams, and so we're trying to prepare our clients for that. We want them to know what may be coming. And so again, it's something that can be really a wonderful way of unlocking a lot of that stuff that's been locked down. The brain is not going to open it up unless the brain feels like you're prepared to deal with it. Our brain wants to heal. It wants to let go of that stuff. And so you may think you're not ready, but the brain is all about survival too. And it's not going to release those memories until you can cope with them. So Hadley, when you start opening it up, it's like all of this stuff starts piling or coming out in a way that is a little surprising.
Right, and my body might think she's prepared, but my brain is not.
Right. We always want that to work together, but sometimes it doesn't. Other thoughts, questions, reflections from yesterday?
How long does it seem like it takes for people to process? Because like I know you said that you had one client that he was avoiding doing the death of his mother because he's like, that's going to take long, it was 20 minutes.
Right.
But do you ever have some that it's like multiple sessions to try to get through?
Oh yeah. Sometimes with family of origin issues, some of those can take weeks to get through. And we don't want it to overwhelm or flood their system. And so I talk about it like the sandwich. We don't push our sandwich into our mouth. We take it a bite at a time. How can they digest it in such a way that allows them to benefit from it without getting overwhelmed by it? And so we prep them by saying we give them that memories and lives log. And so whatever comes up through the week, have them jot that down, journal it, because most of the time, if they're not doing that at the time, they're not going to remember. It's like asking you to remember what you ate last week. None of us are going to remember that. We shut it back down. We let our brain take care of that, store it away in the unconscious, and then they're not going to remember when you say, did you have new insights, thoughts, memories, or dreams? It's like, I don't remember. And so if they have that log, they can put that on there and then come back with that and say, oh, this is something that I wanted to talk about. Now, it's not homework. It's just really to help them. In the early phases, you won't have to do that the more EMDR you do, because they're going to remember pretty quickly. And something can come up that's really disturbing, and they can be surprised by it. But again, our brain is ready to deal with that. That's what we talk about with the body scan. If something gets stuck in the body scan, it may be the next memory in line that wants to be processed, which is kind of a cruel way of looking at it. Okay, other questions? Are some of you already thinking about the clients you want to start working with? Yay, yeah. That's a good way to get excited and ready to go and just kind of applying. And now next weekend, on our second weekend, we'll do a lot of consultation, excuse me, which is you bringing in a client case, and we'll go over that form a little bit later today. But it's going to be talking about those cases. Of course, we don't use any identifying information or anything like that, but we want you to bring in a case that you're working with that you may have a question about, which protocol do I use? Is this client ready for EMDR? What kind of symptoms are they having that would preclude me from doing EMDR the first time? We talked a little bit about that yesterday even. But those are going to be questions that you can present. There's a form that you fill out, and we will send it to you probably the week before the training. And you can do up to 3 cases, but you need to do just 1. But you have an option to do up to 3. So we'll talk about that a little bit later this afternoon, so you have an idea of what that form looks like. You can keep those in mind, but again, you won't have to fill it out until probably the week before training. Then you just fill it out, you submit it, and then we'll have it here. You can make a copy for yourself. So when we meet in our groups of 9, which is going to be in the second weekend, we'll get those 10 hours of consultation that way. So when you leave the second weekend on Friday, you will have your certificate. You will be all done. So no getting consultation outside of the training. It's all finished for you here. Plus, it's a very rich experience because you're working with people, trainers and assistants that already know you and are familiar with you. So rather than getting someone and getting consultation with someone you don't know, it lets you have a little bit of connection already with us in your group. Yes.
I had asked, and so I just kind of want to clarify. I had asked the other day if when we finish this training, or not just this weekend, but the next one as well, will we be certified in EMDR? And was told that we'd be certified, weekend certified, but not completely certified. We still have to do 3 months.
No, it will be called trained. We are trained in EMDR, not certified. That's the next step.
Okay.
And I'll go over that next weekend. There's MBHC requirements that you have 20 hours of consultation with an approved consultant, and we'll go through all of that and how that looks. So if any of you are interested in certification, that will give you an opportunity to know about it and what's required in order to get certified through MBHC. So that's going to be a wonderful way of preparing you for the next phase if you want to continue on. Then you get certified first. Then the next step is being an assistant or a consultant in training. Then you become an approved consultant and then a trainer. So there's actually like 4 levels to go through. Michelle?
Yeah, so when it comes to CEU, did I hear wrong? Do we get CEUs?
Oh, yes, absolutely. 50 hours.
Can we verify before we leave today that they got all of our days and we were good to go?
Yes, as long as you're signed in every day with Cheryl, we've got you. We're taking care of you. We'll get on the last day of the second weekend, we will have a code that you will put into a student. We'll give you a student ID that you put into the evaluation. And then that prints out your certificate once you're done with that. So it's tied to your evaluation in weekend 2.
Now, is that for Kansas and Missouri? Or just Missouri?
No, it's going to be Kansas as well, yeah. It's internationally, yeah. Yes,
And we don't have to pay for the CEU.
absolutely not. No, it's part of our training.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome. MBHC is taking care of you. They've got that all worked out so that you can get your certificate, you can get your consultation hours. But yes, the next level would be certification. We'll talk about the certification program and what that looks like, how that works, the cost that's associated with that. It's not cheap, but we want you to know it's available. So you decide if that's going to work for you or not.
We
Yes.
can practice EMDR without the full certification though, right? Once we're done with this complete training.
You can actually practice it this weekend when you leave and go back to on Monday morning. And I would encourage all of you to start practicing Monday morning. You're not fully trained yet, but that doesn't, again, keep you from practicing. It's going to make more sense if you start, even if you do phase 1 and 2, and you don't do phases 3 through 7 yet. I encourage you to do it all because it really does allow you to get that experience. when you come back on weekend 2, you're gonna have some great questions because it's all about the processing. You'll process again today, we'll process next weekend, so you'll get lots of experience in the training with processing. But it's even better when you process with clients. It makes more sense. It lets you know maybe areas that you want to work on a little bit more. Maybe you don't understand, the answer or how it's applied, or different phases that you're going through, phases 3 through 7 versus phases 8. And all of that will come together on weekend 2. I talk about it kind of like a snow globe where we shake everything up the first weekend and then it starts settling. And now it makes a bit more sense. So we encourage you to start practicing. Now some of your agencies may be hesitant, or you may be hesitant. I want to get all trained. Well, you kind of cheat yourself because you don't practice in between. Because again, it's making more sense the more you do it. So if you just wait and get weekend 2 and say, now I'm ready, then you don't have us to give you feedback, to give you support. Because once our training is done, you won't work with us anymore unless you get certified, and then you can ask for us if you want as far as a certification group. And we'll talk about that. If you're really connected with someone in here, be sure to ask for that person as a consultant.
If we do want to start sharing this with the client, I know there's phase 1 and 2. You talk about informed consents and things like that. Is that anything different than what they would have already signed, just working with us in general?
Yeah, because
extra we need to do for EMDR specifically.
There can be, you can show the video to people, the embryo video and all. There we go. The embryo video is on the embryo website. It's a 9-minute video. It goes, and if we have time today, I'll go ahead and show it. We have a lot of specialty populations this morning before we go into the afternoon. But if we do have time, you can show your clients that 9-minute video. It talks about what is EMDR therapy, and it allows them to see it. It's seeing it from the client perspective as well as from the professionals that I've worked with, EMDR, and their clientele. And it's just really impressive. It gives a simple explanation of what happens in the brain when a trauma occurs. And clients really it does make sense to them in a way that feels like it's not so overwhelming. Because they get a little bit scared, like, what are you going to do to me? And it does feel different, but the informed consent, we wouldn't have them sign a consent form if we were doing CBT. EMDR is a modality. It is different than talk therapy, but it's still a modality. But we want them to know what we're doing. We want them to be aware. We want them to ask as many questions as possible.
What website did you say that video's on?
It's emdria.org. And I'll pull it up today, Sherry, and we can take a look at it again if we have time today. We're going to go ahead. We will spend a lot of time looking at their website next weekend because they have a lot of wonderful information and a lot of wonderful resources if you're a member of Embryo. There is a fee for being a member, but you get a discount off if you do it within 6 months of your training. So you want to look at the benefits of that because those can be really amazing tools and things, and I'll talk about that in weekend 2. They have all kinds of things for depression, military, children, have a children's toolkit, and we'll talk about a lot of that again in the second weekend. I'll show you what some of those look like. They'll be locked down to you today. You can't actually join until you're done with your training, so you couldn't join until the second weekend. And you've got your certificate because they're going to ask you when did you complete your training. Okay, anything else? Okay, what I'm going to do today for our mindfulness is I want to go ahead and do the calm place. And so as I go through this exercise, there may be a little bit of changes that I make, but I'll go through it. And I'm just going to invite everyone to sit back and just experience this without looking at the slides. I want you to just sit back Take a few deep breaths. Just allow your body to calm. Feel like you're in the present moment. Breathing in through your nose and out your mouth. You can feel free to close your eyes if that's comfortable. And just have a focal point in the room that you can add if that's not. So I'm going to invite everyone to bring up a place, either a real or an imaginary place, that when you imagine being there, you feel a sense of calm. And when you imagine being there, just notice the sounds, the sights, the smells, even maybe the taste. And what you notice right now as you're there in your calm place. And so just that awareness of what you're feeling, just stay with those feelings for a moment. And as you stay with those feelings, I want you to just tap on your knees. Just do a few gentle taps on your knees as you notice those feelings. And then just be aware of what you're feeling now. And then as you bring up that calm place, I want you to identify a cue word. What would be a word that would describe this place for you? It could be calm, it could be peaceful, it could be the beach, or the mountains, or any other word that brings up your calm place. And now, I want you to bring on that calm place on your own with that cue word. So let's use your cue word to go to your calm place now. And then just notice the shift in your system as you go there on your own. And now I'm going to invite you to bring up a mildly irritating issue that's happened today or maybe yesterday. And notice how you feel in your body. That mild issue that could be just a bit irritating. And now let's use your cue word to go to your calm place. And now notice that shift that just happened. I'm going to invite you to do that again. Another mildly irritating event might have happened this week, maybe this morning, driving in traffic, forgetting something in your suitcase, packing, getting out of the hotel. Any of those mildly irritating issues. Notice that difference in your system when you think about that. Just stay with that irritation for a moment. And now bring up your cue word. Notice that shift in your system. And now let's go back to tapping. Just a few taps, about 10 taps or so. And just kind of savor that feeling. enjoy that feeling of your calm place, knowing that it's under your control to move up anytime you desire. Now I'm going to invite everyone to come back to the here and now, the present moment, paying attention to the sound of my voice, coming back to the room whenever you're ready. Okay, how was that for everyone? Yes. Now sometimes, if a client identifies a calm place and it gets invaded, we call it contaminated by someone that could be a perpetrator. The perpetrator shows up in their calm place. We would switch to another one. So that's why we say that it could be an imaginary place. So it doesn't have to be something that they're familiar with, a place that they may like to go, that they've never been before. And so the calm place is going to be, now if you were sitting with a client, you would do a set, and you'd have that, having them be aware of that. We do a slow set because we're installing the cue word. And so you do a slow movement of about 8 to 10 passes. And then that's allowing you, because a lot of times when I was trained in EMDR, again, it wasn't by PTI, but when I was trained, those were the only two resources they gave us, is the calm place and the container. And so as I work and have done over the years, I use a few PTIs at different times, but I use the container and then I have them go to their calm place. And so you can use those two together if you want. So whatever works for you and for your clients. Okay, any questions about that? Thoughts, or anyone want to describe their experience or their awareness? And so what we want to do then is focus on our practice sheets right now. You pulled up your practice sheets. Let me get to day 2. And so we're looking at the treatment plan today. We're going to be moving into our groups of 3 in just a moment, but I want to present this is what your treatment plan and your targets are going to look like. We saw these yesterday. We didn't have time to go over because we wanted to give you enough time to practice. But as we look at day 2 yesterday, this is where these are coming from. So then when we ask, what is the last time you wanted or experienced this at work? That longing, what they wanted, understanding, connection, awareness, whatever that may have been. That's their present trigger 1. With friends or socially is 2. And then their closest relationships is 3. And so what we would do here is that then those present triggers come here across those areas on the treatment plan. And then down here at the bottom is their future desire states. Okay, and so let's go to that page from yesterday. The future desire state was the next page. Some of you did get this done, others did not. But what we would want to do is to identify that present trigger 1, what happened at work, and then we're going to say, now I would like for us to look at each present trigger, decide how you would like to react, behave, or feel in this situation if it were to happen in the future, or a similar situation. And so there's that situation that you bring up at work, so you would read that to your client, and then we're asking, how would you like that to be different? So if we use the example of I got angry at work, I was afraid I was going to lose my job because I yelled at my boss. So if that situation were to happen again and you get angry, how would you want to handle it? Well, I don't want to get mad. Well, that's something that they don't want to do versus what they would want to do. So we want to make sure it's not a not or it's not a don't. But so say if I saw you not getting mad, what would I see? Well, I'm calm, I'm assertive, I take a breath, and then I excuse myself, and then come back. Or I tell my boss, I feel myself getting really angry right now. Can you give me about 30 minutes to calm down or to work through this, and can I come back at that time? Or can we meet this afternoon? So assertively asking for what you want. So it could be as descriptive as that, or it could be, I just want to be calm and confident when I speak to my boss. So again, what they want instead, here is the one socially and with friends. Gave you that example yesterday of paying the tab because all your friends want you to pay for their dinner. So you would assertively say, I feel as though each time we come to eat, everyone's expecting me to pay. And it makes me feel like I'm being used, and I would prefer that everyone pay for their own. And so those sorts of things, again, setting boundaries in a way that is going to be helpful. Now up here at the top, there is one that is going to be, no, it's actually tied. We used to have both up here at the top. Okay, so we changed that. So present trigger 1, 2, and 3, and then social, or this is social, and then this is going to be with your closest relationships. Now it says down here that there could be more than 3. So again, we're just using those as examples as how do I want to handle something in the future. Now the future template can be used in a lot of different ways. This is one of them. We can then, as we go through, and I'll talk a little bit more about this today in our lecture, as we go through and we look at all of our targets, we processed all of our targets, then we look at the present triggers and are they still active, Belinda?
What do you do if they don't work and they don't have any friends or family? How would you, handle those type of things?
Yeah, it would be what they would want to change for the future. What would it take to get friends? What would it take to have connections in the future? Because the first one is either work or school or the community. It could be in the grocery store, getting mad at somebody in the grocery store. So it's just in the community as well. So apply it to their lives. Apply it to whatever's going to work for them. Just modify it in a way that works ideally for them. Okay? Other questions? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to break into our groups of 3 again. We're going to get